When troubleshooting one of these little blue chargers, whoever it's made by, the internals are always the same. And the most common error is error number 2, which means not enough power to charger. Now, I myself have a couple of these different chargers, and when I got error number 2, I looked up the error and found out that it is this particular one. And I've tried all 3 of these, and I can't get my board to not have error 2, regardless of charger. I also have a second unit here, which works perfectly with all 3 of these chargers and don't give me error number 2. With one unit producing error 2, and one unit not producing error 2 with the same wall plug pack, I decided to open the non-working one and to look around. Now, I looked around for a few hours before I noticed a tiny blowhole in this little component right here, which is situated right here. This is the transistor for the 4th cell charging. This transistor right here takes a signal from this microcontroller and activates a bigger transistor on the other side. So this tiny little transistor right here, which happens to be a SOT23 package, was blown, and I realized that when I plugged in a 3-cell battery, the charger worked perfectly without any issue. But when plugging in a 4-cell, I got error number 2. So clearly I had to swap this because it had a hole in it, and in order to find what it is, I used some logic and found out that these are NPN transistors. Now, depending on if you have some NPN transistors laying around, you can very simply just replace it. But I didn't have any in a SOT23 size. Now, you could really use any NPN transistor, as this doesn't carry much current. It is only to act as a MOSFET driver for the larger MOSFET on the other side. You could use a transistor in a normal through-hole package, but I decided to try and find myself an SOT23 package. With a little bit of research, I found out that an NPN transistor in diode check mode looks like this, and I decided to probe around some throwaway boards which had SOT23 components on them. And I found right here on this one, I found a NPN transistor, which means that I just diode probed these 2 connections, and this is what it came out as. And I just desoldered the old one and put the new one back on. And with that, I now have a working charger, which doesn't give me error number 2 again. And it charges all 4 cells of this battery just fine. Your charger might have some other component that is not one of these transistors right here, but I would assume that most of these chargers would have similar faults, and if you can't seem to find a component which has a fault, try removing these transistors and then plugging in your battery and seeing if the problem persists. Because when I desoldered this transistor right here, the board worked as if nothing had happened, but charging on the 4th cell stopped working.